I can't see anybody. Let me refresh this. What's going on? What's going on? My apologies for the for some reason YouTube has not been friendly to me lately. Well, can't even say lately. More often than not, it isn't. Eric versus everything. What's going on? Albert Bird. What's going on? Baron Saturday. What's happening? If Buttigieg thinks he can beat us and our progressive candidates, think again. 100% agree. 100% agree. I don't know why it's saying that y'all are having trouble with the stream. Let me know if you are. According to my my thing, it says that we're good. I don't know if Buttigieg can get beat by Warren, dog. I don't know if I can get down with that sentiment. Definitely Tulsi, definitely Bernie, but Warren, I don't know if she got it like that. I don't know if she got it like that. I wouldn't be voting for her, so I don't. So y'all are good. All right, we'll give it a couple minutes and we'll get started. If y'all could please share this. From what I'm seeing, a notification did not go out. Why am I not surprised at this point? Shouldn't be, right? Well, thank you very much, Eric versus everything. I appreciate that. You know, it's not your fault that you fell for the Tulsi hate, because it came in such a flood that anybody who didn't do research like themselves, seeking out different videos and things like that, would have fell for it too. Some of the things I even fell for. I mean, I knew she had changed her position, but I even felt like, you know, I'm like, okay, if she was for conversion therapy when she was 21, I know she isn't for it now. But it turns out she had no idea what the hell conversion therapy was, which she clarified during the town hall. So like that's how prominent the misinformation has been. And I'm actually going to do a video pretty soon. I've been trying to debate when I wanted to do it, about like the where it all got started, where the smears began, and that's going to be a damn good video. Mentoring 42, yeah, I know, I heard, man. I don't know what's going on. Unfortunately, you all have to keep checking into the channel. Y'all know I post pretty damn often, so you have to keep checking into the channel because people aren't getting notifications. I mean, even my analytics show that only like 4% of my total viewership comes from people clicking on notifications, which is ridiculous. And only 12% of my viewership comes from my actual subscribers, which isn't too outlandish, but that means, but from my understanding, most people are just not getting the notifications, or else more of my views would come from notifications. Let's give it about 1 more minute. Let me share this on Facebook too. So just for everybody who's here right now, I gotta go live more often, because not that it's a bad thing per se, just to give you all kind of a glimpse of what's going on. It's for good reasons, right? It's for good reasons. We're doing numbers that are kind of crazy right now, and the truth of the matter is, the production aspect of the videos takes up a lot of time, and that's coming from somebody who I'm pretty quick when it comes to producing videos, and I'm really good at I gather information like 15 minutes, do a video in another 15-20 minutes, and have it edited and exported within another 15-20 minutes. But when you have to do that 4 to 5 times a day, and then on top of that, more topics are dropping, so that I can get 3 videos done, and then 4 or 5 more important topics of that day of relevance will just come across the desk. So what I've decided to start doing is actually doing more live events. Now with these new live events, just to let everybody know, they will be taken down after the event has concluded. So like after we get done live streaming, these are going to be taken down. Now the segments at least pieces of the segments will be reposted. But that's why I say it's super important. You'll see me on between 6:30 and 7:30 most days. I'm going to try to do it almost daily. And I'm going to figure out what works best, the daytime or the evening. And then we'll go from there. Generally, it seems the evening everybody prefers. So, yeah. So just letting everybody know what's going on there. Also, initially the posts or the live streams won't be that extravagant, because I'm also using a different program to live stream now. It's supposed to be better. It's supposed to be more efficient. Less drops, less cutting out, things like that. And once I get more advanced with the program, it's supposed to be overall just a much better program. Once I finish completing the studio that I have right now, I'm doing some upgrades thanks to you guys. I will actually be making the streams much more advanced. They'll have a lot more graphics and things like that. It's just that right now we just want to get through the streams, and then as we, when I repost the segments later, that we'll include the graphics and all that good stuff. I used to go on live a lot, and I just got irritated because there was just, every time I was going live, people weren't getting the notifications. But now I have no choice, because it's what, it's a good thing, right? It's good to have news, and it's good to have people who want to cover the news. So, and I'm just very fortunate that you all continue to tune in here. It's dope. So I want to go ahead and get started. Good stuff. All right, thank you all so much for tuning in to this live stream segment of Mikasa Sukasa, and I am your host, Niko House. I want to welcome everybody. Sorry that you didn't get the notifications. I know that's been happening a lot. This is like the 3rd time in a row that I went live and none of you all got the notifications. So here's how we reconcile that. Like the video. 1, right now, stop what you're doing. I have 113 people watching, so 113 people need to like this video. 2, share it. 113 people watching, 113 people share it to their Twitters and Facebook. That'll let everybody else know that we are here. So thank you for showing up. Just a small update once again for those of you who have just joined. I'm going to be going live much more often because we literally do not have time to cover all the topics in individual videos. It is impossible at this point. Now, the important part about that is to catch the entire live stream, you need to be in the live stream. So make sure you have your notification bell turned on. Make sure you have, you're following us on Twitter and Facebook and all that good stuff. Because matter of fact, let me go ahead and I got to share this to YouTube. Just kidding. But the reason why is because the live stream will be taken down after, and then the individual segments of the live stream will be posted up, but you won't catch the entire live stream or all the information unless you share. So, or unless you come in. So, with that being said, there have been a lot of developments in the Democratic primary election. The FEC documents dropped on the 15th. Those have been pretty revealing thus far. Buttigieg had a secret meeting. Can't believe that, but I can. I mean, think about it. Let's be honest. Like when he started getting pushed by CNN and MSNBC and being shoved down our throats and them printing articles about Buttigieg, like we actually care about his candidacy, like you kind of figured he was the next in line. And we'll go over a little bit of that. Also, we're going to give a little shout out to AOC. And then we'll go over some of the Green New Deal and something that's not so favorable and some questions we got to ask the AOC. And then we're going to talk about some Democrats lying about some of the money they made. Yeah. So, there is a new set of CNN town halls that are supposed to be happening on April the 22nd. Now, I know what some of you may be thinking. Am I experiencing deja vu? The answer is no, you're not. It just seems to me that CNN is trying to restart / revamp / reignite the candidacies of some of these presidential nominees or potential nominees. Now, some would ask, well, why do you feel like that, Niko? Well, let's be honest. So this announcement was made 4 days before Bernie Sanders went on to his Fox News town hall. If you all remember, Bernie Sanders was widely criticized for going on to his Fox News town hall. Funny enough, which I know that they expected this to happen, which is why they started lobbing criticisms at Bernie. Bernie Sanders did have the most popular town hall event out of the entire election cycle thus far. And of course, CNN, being as upset as they are, having ratings as low as they do at this very moment, of course, they had to get in on some of the fun. Now, I say reset and reignite because, well, the people who are involved in these town halls are not really polling that high, or they were polling high once before and it didn't work out well. And once again, of course, we have to remember this is coming on the heels of Bernie Sanders being officially named the Democratic frontrunner. So, the ones who should be involved in these CNN town halls on April 22nd will be Kamala Harris. I know, of course. Pete Buttigieg. I know, of course. Amy Klobuchar. I don't really know why. Senator Warren, and then Bernie Sanders. Now, the focus of this town hall meeting is supposed to be on the issues of younger voters. But don't you think there are some names missing? Some people missing? Now, Of course, the first name I thought about, you guessed it, Tulsi Gabbard. She's getting shafted once again. And at this point, I'm sure she's used to it. But that doesn't mean it's any more acceptable. But in actuality, I'm actually surprised that a couple of names didn't make the list. I know that Andrew Yang had one town hall, 2 days ago, which I'm actually planning on covering. But that was only one town hall for him. And it wasn't like it was a widely televised or advertised event. I actually had to find out from somebody in their Yang gang. They're the ones who let me know that there was a town hall. So it wasn't widely promoted or televised. Or it was obviously televised, but it wasn't widely promoted. But he's only had one, but he's been running for longer than any of the other candidates, admittedly enough. Like he's the one who's been consistently running the most, but has just recently been given a town hall. That's his only town hall. So now he won't have another town hall to address the needs of young people to try to win over those votes. In my opinion, that is unfair. Now, another person who has not been invited onto this town hall to discuss the issues of younger voters is Cory Booker, which is kind of weird. Because Cory Booker is really, he's popular-ish with young voters. He is indeed establishment, but apparently Cory Booker isn't behaving establishment-y enough. He's not shilling enough for CNN as of late, and they've taken personal issue with this. Bernie Sanders even outlined it in the letter that he wrote to Neera Tanden in Center for American Progress, by saying that Cory Booker has been under constant and regular attack, namely after he made a progressive shift on some of the legislation that he's been promoting or supporting, like the prescription drug legislation. Basically the legislation that killed his candidacy, he had another chance to vote on. He voted the right way, and they have been basically shooting him down ever since. And of course, the most important one, in my opinion, Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard brings the ratings, which we already know. Tulsi Gabbard is popular amongst younger voters. We kind of know Kamala has had ample opportunity to explain what her plans are for the youth and for the younger voters. Sanders, same thing, even though I'm more than happy to hear another town hall from Bernie. Klobuchar had her opportunity to explain what she was going to do for the young voters and blew that shit all the way up. Did not take advantage of it. And then, Warren, I would like to hear more from Warren there. Buttigieg is the reason that this farce of a town hall is happening. You all know this, right? They're trying to basically make it so that Buttigieg separates himself from the rest of these people. Amongst the younger voters, right? Because who is the number one electorate in the country right now? You don't have to guess. I already know. It's millennials. Who do they believe Buttigieg will appeal to the most? Millennials. Who is least likely to win over the millennial vote at this point? Millennials. Because we're not idiots. That's why we overwhelmingly supported Bernie in 2016 to begin with. Because we tend to be a little bit more educated. We tend to do a little bit more research. We have other people around us. When I say educate, I mean educated on the issues. And we have other people around us who are just as educated. So if we didn't fall for Hillary Clinton, what the hell makes you think that we're going to fall for Pete Buttigieg? Now, here's what's most striking to me about this entire CNN town hall situation. And don't forget, if you want to have your comment read out loud, you can just drop a super chat. We'll get your comment read out loud. The weirdest thing about this CNN town hall situation is, like, we have no idea how they are going about selecting who gets to be in the town hall and who doesn't get to be in the town hall. For example, it isn't being done by polling. It can't be. So the Emerson poll that was released between April 11th, or it's conducted between April 11th and April 14th, and it was released. Now, this is one of the more reliable polls. You know how I feel about polling. This poll was conducted a little bit more fairly. In other words, they asked people from all different age groups and made sure that millennials made up a good portion of the people they asked. So it's conducted a little bit more fairly. Now, with that being said, they have a 5.2% margin of error. That's too much. So, like, even though the Emerson polls tend to be more accurate, okay, even though this particular Emerson poll asked the right questions, to the right people. They weren't biased in the age groups and things like that. So even though all that may be true, when you get above 4% for a margin of error by any legitimate polling analysis, that's too much. And you can't really take the poll all that seriously. But these are the polls that are going to be used going forward, or at least going to be used to justify certain decisions made from the Democratic Party going forward. Now, the poll's decent. Don't really like the results all that much, but it's decent enough. They have Bernie Sanders polling at 29%, reasonable. 24% for Joe Biden. Why? He hasn't even announced. Once again, I don't even know why he's being asked, but let's continue. Pete Buttigieg somehow, some way jumped up to 9%. Nobody even knew who this man was 2 weeks ago, but now he has 9% in the polls. Beto O'Rourke, 8%. Kamala Harris, 8%. Elizabeth Warren, 7%. Julian Castro, 3%. Andrew Yang, 3%. Cory Booker, 2%. Eric Swalwell, 1%. Amy Klobuchar, 1%. Mike Gravel, 1%. Tulsi Gabbard, 1%. Tim Ryan, who I've literally never heard of, 1%. John Delaney, 1%. I actually feel bad for Kirsten Gillibrand because she is getting beat by people I've never even heard of before. So there were some things that were off because like I said, I know it can't be this town hall isn't being conducted based strictly off of polling. How do I know that? Well, Bernie Sanders makes sense that he would get asked. He's number one. Pete Buttigieg, even though shouldn't be the case, he is number two with a 5% margin of error, which means he could very well be like number 7 or 8. So there's that. Beto O'Rourke is number 3. Kamala Harris is number 4. Elizabeth Warren is number 5. But then the last person on the list is Amy Klobuchar to also make the debates. Now, what's even more interesting to me is that Beto O'Rourke has dropped in the polls. Kamala Harris has significantly dropped in the polls. She went from between 15 to 20% by some estimates. Then she dropped to 8%. Yang increased in the polls. Julian Castro increased in the polls. Tulsi increased in the polls, and yet they're not being given town halls again. Even crazier, why is Amy Klobuchar getting a town hall at 1% in this particular situation when Julian Castro, Andrew Yang, and Cory Booker all are polling better than her? So what metric is being used to determine who should be in this damn debate? We know they're keeping Bernie Sanders. They have to, if you're going to have town halls. Thank you, Bob, really, for the super chat. If you're going to have town halls, you can't not have the front runner, which is Bernie. Makes sense. We knew that Kamala Harris was going to be included because CNN is basically funding her campaign. Cool. But Amy Klobuchar, by all merits, she should not be included in this. Ram Jeff 97, do you think that Biden is too Oh, do you think Biden is too right to compete as a Dem? He's anti-pot, takes PAC money and corporate money. Of course. Biden is a damn near Republican who just ran as a Democrat so he could win. That's basically what Biden is. So, yeah. So there's not really any logic or reason. What's even crazier to me is that, I mean, like, Klobuchar has been thoroughly embarrassed. And I personally don't see a world where she's more popular than Booker. She's honestly, definitely not more popular than Yang. So, what gives? And at this point, for this particular town hall, I can only speculate. They're going out of their way to keep Tulsi out, and I think we all know the reason. And the truth of the matter is, if they put Tulsi Gabbard in front of that many people, talking about and speaking to young voters, they know who would likely come away victorious out of all the town halls. Also, people would be keeping up with the ratings. They don't want to take the chance that another progressive outside of Bernie Sanders comes away with the highest ratings. Also, they don't want to take the chance that another progressive would just overall do better. And that's why they have Buttigieg. What they keep trying to pretend is if Buttigieg is the only millennial in this race, but Tulsi was the first millennial in this race. Remember, I've talked about that on my show. She's very representative of the millennial experience, the evolutionary aspect of it. So what I would like to see, in all fairness, is Amy Klobuchar removed. And I believe, and if we're going to be fair, Tulsi should be a part of the debate. But also, and y'all know I don't even like Cory Booker, but Cory Booker should be part of the debate. Cory Booker is more popular than Amy Klobuchar. You can't skip all the way down to 1% Amy Klobuchar and pass up Julian Castro, Andrew Yang, Tulsi Gabbard, Cory Booker. Okay, cool. We'll just go straight to Klobuchar then. It doesn't make any sense to me. So I'd love to know your thoughts about that. The next thing I want to talk about is this Emerson poll. So the Emerson poll that I was just talking to you about is very interesting because it does indeed have Bernie Sanders at 29%, which means he is the front runner. And this is a national poll. So it's a little bit different than some of the other polls that have been released. This is a national poll. Bernie is solidly in first place. But they have Biden at 24%. And I just cannot take a poll seriously. Even though Emerson, once again, in all fairness, has been one of the fairer of the polls. It's been one of the more legitimate of the polls. Now, just because you're more legitimate, just because you're a little bit better, doesn't mean that you're actually legitimate. Okay? It doesn't mean that you're 100% accurate. Here's why I say that. Once again, this poll has a 5.2% margin of error. Now, you can look this up yourself. I took polling analysis classes when I was in college. Obviously I study polls a lot by nature of being involved in this particular, this particular job. Like, we're looking at polls all day. And half the time I'm trying to debunk the polls. So, but if you're going to claim a poll is legitimate, you cannot have a 5.2% margin of error. The most that you can have, the norm, is 4%. And that's a lot, first of all. Like, that's still a lot. 5.2%. So basically what they're saying is Biden could technically be ahead of Sanders. We don't know. And the next Pete Buttigieg, Beto O'Rourke, Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, and even Julian Castro and Andrew Yang, all of their positions are interchangeable in the polls based off of a 5.2% margin of error. Also, it's very hard for me to take a poll seriously when you include a candidate that hasn't announced, in other words, Joe Biden, when you include a candidate that hasn't announced, when every other candidate that you have named in the polls has announced. How much sense does that make? Don't you think the results are going to be skewed just a little bit? Just a little bit. Now, here's another problem I have with this poll. I believe that Andrew Yang has 3%. Congratulations to him for improving in the polls. But this is why I say you have to mind that margin of error, that 5.2% margin of error. It says Julian Castro has 3%. It says it says Tulsi Gabbard has 1%. That's what it says. Julian Castro, who literally is never on anything ever, name the last time you saw a headline from Julian Castro. You tell me. Let me know when. I know what the answer is. You don't even remember the last time you saw a headline from Julian Castro. You probably saw it here. That's probably the last time you've seen a headline about Julian Castro, but somehow he has 3%. Tulsi has 1%. And although that is an improvement, and although that is good, because that does make sure she get on the debate stage. People, Julian Castro only has 52,000 donations. Julian Castro supposedly has 3% of the national vote. But Tulsi has over 65,000, well over that at this point. DCK Punk. It's a bit perverse to refer to supporters of a candidate who believes in Krishna as a cult. Yeah, I'm not really sure where that came from, but yeah, I mean, it's true. But let me continue. So if Julian Castro has 52,000 donors, and this is as of yesterday, Tulsi has more than that, set by maybe 20,000, if not more at this point. What the hell methods are you using to decide whether or not your poll should be published? Because a big hole in your plan, something that in my opinion should make you question maybe we need to reconduct this poll, is when the candidate that has already qualified for the debate stage via individual donations, the candidate who brings bigger crowds in big cities than Julian Castro, for example, when she isn't polling higher than the people who haven't even qualified for the debate stage, how can I take this poll seriously? How can I take this poll as legitimate? I get it. Polls do show some reflection of what the numbers look like. But once again, people, Tulsi got at least 200 donations from 20 states. At least. That was done actually around the $20,000 donation mark, roughly, according to the campaign. She's over 65,000, well over that at this point. And yet, this Emerson poll, which is being used now to determine, who's more popular, who isn't, who has a chance to run, who hasn't, How can this Emerson poll say somebody like Julian Castro is polling ahead of Tulsi Gabbard? This poll, I mean, they're both tied at 1%, but the poll is actually saying, and I'm not joking, it's saying that even though they're both at 1%, Mike Gravel, because everybody's been getting on to me about pronouncing his name wrong. His name is Gravel, not Gravel. He's doing better than Tulsi in the polls, according to this poll. The guy who actually endorsed Tulsi is doing better than Tulsi in the polls. Both at 1%, but Mike Gravel has a higher, he has more people who said that they were going to vote for him supposedly than Tulsi in the polls. Now, I might be going out on a limb here, and I don't necessarily think that everybody involved in I don't think that everybody in Emerson who conducted this poll is involved in some crazy conspiracy. It just takes one person. But do you think they may be lying about Tulsi Gabbard's poll numbers now? I've been talking about this for how long? Seriously. When are people going to start waking up? Because here's the messed up part. It would be they could very well, all the other numbers could very well be accurate, right? So Bernie could very well be at 29%. That makes perfect sense. Joe Biden could very well be at 24%. That does unfortunately make sense because, well, he hasn't opened his mouth too much, but I imagine as he begins to open his mouth more, those numbers are going to drop like they have every other time Joe Biden has run. But that still makes somewhat sense given where we're at right now, right? Okay, cool. But how are you going to say that Julian Castro is doing better? Is it too outlandish to believe, potentially, that they literally went out of their way to isolate Tulsi Gabbard? Because I've already told you where I stand. Tulsi Gabbard is 100% the biggest threat to the establishment the biggest threat that they've ever seen. And they know it. And they feel it. Listen, if you need proof, once again, Tulsi Gabbard literally called Trump a bitch on Twitter. Trump attacks every and anybody. People could say, well, maybe he didn't notice. Yeah, okay, that thing got like 180,000 likes and 100,000 retweets, something like that. So Trump noticed. Come on, let's be honest. But Trump didn't respond. Why? Because he doesn't want Tulsi airing out his dirty laundry. Ryan Chan, I was curious I wasn't sure if you knew, but Buttigieg ran for the DNC chair. He talked about the people should get over the 2016 conflict in the DNC chair debate. Well, not that I was going to vote for him, but that just adds to the list of reasons I would never vote for him. But considering that Tulsi Gabbard is the biggest threat to the establishment, would it be outlandish for Tulsi to be isolated and for them to lie about her numbers? Because even if we're going to talk about, for example, Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang is kind of in the same niche as Tulsi. They both occupy primarily an online space. They're both kind of seen as outsiders. Tulsi has a little bit more clout. There is a small difference. Andrew Yang hasn't been constantly berated with negative attacks by the Democratic establishment. But he does occupy an online space very similar to Tulsi. They campaign in the same states. But the difference is Tulsi has had a significant following way before Andrew Yang. Tulsi's forever associated with one of the most popular campaigns and one of the most popular politicians in history. Tulsi's videos on average on Twitter and things like that and on Facebook do far better than Andrew Yang's. And this is not to throw shade at Yang, this is just trying to draw a point. Tulsi has way more followers than Andrew Yang. For the most part, Tulsi is doing better in every single way. And yet, this poll is somehow concluding, yeah, Andrew Yang's more popular. Even if by 2%, I just feel like it further validates the possibility that they isolated Tulsi as a variable and then lied about her numbers, hoping that people wouldn't go back and look at the discrepancies, like the 5.1% margin. Because you know what that means, people. If there's a 5.2% margin of error, Tulsi could be at 1% or Tulsi could be at 7%. What the fuck kind of margin of error is that? Like I said, 4 is the most you're going to have on a given poll that's taken seriously. But 5.2%, and then on top of that, once again, there are candidates who haven't even qualified for the debate stage that are supposedly polling better than the person who has qualified for the debate stage. There are candidates who haven't even had a platform like Tulsi, right? So Tulsi's been on CNN, she's been on MSNBC, she's been on independent media. Tulsi, who's been on Joe Rogan, my show, Jimmy Dore's show, TYT, the list goes on. Julian Castro's never been on any of those shows except for CNN from time to time. And you're still going to convince me that Julian Castro is. But the truth of the matter is, this goes back to what I have said for quite some time, which is that they are trying to shaft whoever the progressive is when it comes to that Democratic National Convention. Because there is one thing that all of these candidates have in common. Now, surprisingly enough, Kirsten Gillibrand was not allowed to be in this town hall, but Beto O'Rourke and Pete Buttigieg, Texas, some of the highest, with the most delegates to give or win. Klobuchar in the state, like Minnesota, that would overwhelmingly go to Bernie Sanders if we took the election right now and Klobuchar wasn't involved. However, now she is involved. Her job is to draw delegates away from Bernie Sanders. Kamala Harris, California, need I say more? Moved up in the primary election. Kamala Harris is dropping amongst the electorate as far as her likability. She isn't even being talked about on the news anymore. Nobody cares about what she has to say, but they also know that if Bernie wins California, it's over. It is beyond over, right? Realistically speaking, objectively speaking, if Bernie dominates California, winning 80 to 85% of the delegates there, it's not going to be pretty. The establishment will literally turn tail and run. They'll freak out. They will start promoting Donald Trump if Bernie wins 80 to 85% of California. Not even exaggerating. I will be willing to put money on it. And then, of course, you have Warren, who is in Massachusetts, who is progressive enough that it looks like they're playing fair. But Massachusetts has enough delegates that Warren can take a lot away. And we know who she's going to hand those delegates off to at the Democratic National Convention to ensure that neither Bernie nor Tulsi or any progressive gets the 50% mark. She's already proven that. Massachusetts, despite what people may believe, they have kind of like a damn near a false dichotomy of Republican and Democrat. Because a lot of the Republicans are Democrats, a lot of the Republicans are actually progressive. It's weird, I know, but it's true. A lot the electorate in Massachusetts, they're extremely issue based. But at the end of the day, they do love Warren, and that will once again siphon off delegates away from the progressive, in all likelihood, Bernie Sanders. So if we look at the people they picked, the polling doesn't look like it determined who does and who does not get on the debate stage. It looks like these are the states that we have the most to lose. This is the person we have the most to lose to, and we need to basically be able to contrast these candidates and separate them from Bernie, hopefully in a positive way amongst the younger electorate, because if any of them are even somewhat doing better than Bernie in the polls in certain aspects of it, it's only in polls that reflect the older vote, so 50 plus boomers and things like that. So that's what they're hoping to establish, in my opinion, with this situation with the town hall, and even with this poll. And I just don't believe that this poll is all that legitimate and all that reliable. So I want to move on to this Pete Buttigieg secret meeting that I forgot to put onto my computer, so give me a second. So according to the New York Times, Buttigieg been up to some things, and the Democrats have taken a certain liking to Buttigieg. And this article gives us a little insight into the irritation that Bernie displayed in his letter, his open letter that the New York Times reported on and that got sent to the Center for American Progress, and most specifically, Neera Tanden. So, this is an excerpt from this article. The matter of quote-unquote what to do about Bernie and the larger imperative of party unity has, for example, hovered over a series of previously undisclosed Democratic dinners in New York and Washington, organized by the longtime party financier Bernard Schwartz. The gatherings have included scores from the moderate or center-left wing of the party. There is no center-left wing. It is, you're a centrist or corporatist or you're a progressive. There's no in between. Let me continue. Including, what a surprise, guess who was at this meeting, people? Nancy Pelosi. Senator Chuck Schumer. Oh my gosh. The minority leader, Government Terry McAuliffe. Oh man, Terry McAuliffe just always finds a way to get involved with the matters of the Democratic Party when it comes to screwing people over. Mayor Pete Buttigieg of South Bend. And the president for Center for American Progress, Neera Tanden. I cannot believe it. You're trying to tell me that this information comes out a couple of days before Bernie Sanders shoots that letter to the Center for American Progress and specifically addresses Neera Tanden? You're trying to tell me that this information came out a couple of days after Center for American Progress and Neera Tanden specifically, and Think Progress, went on an all-out blitz attacking Bernie Sanders. I wonder if this meeting with Pete Buttigieg has anything to do with that. I wonder if Pete Buttigieg shooting up in the polls has anything to do with the fact that the Democratic Party literally wants him to shoot up in the polls. I wonder if this meeting has anything to do with the fact that there are other candidates. Remember, because this isn't a new phenomena, like them meeting with people and deciding who's next. Remember when I know Kamala has to be feeling some type of way right now. You know, she's in a corner somewhere. I thought I was the chosen one. I was supposed to be coordinated. That's what they told me at the Hamptons. Kamala Harris was told that she was the chosen one. Kamala Harris, by the Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party donors, was told in the Hamptons, hey, you're it. You got it. We believe in you. After 2 weeks of Kamala opening her mouth and then subsequently taking her foot, all of the foot, heel and all the corns, all the bunions, taking her foot, putting those yoga lessons to use, and sticking it all the way in her mouth every time she talked. After about 2.5 weeks of that, she killed her campaign. It's basically dead at this point. She's getting no real traction. She gets no love on television anymore. No one really cares about Kamala Harris. She isn't making any headlines. Basically, they moved on. And then they tried somebody else the next week. They said, hey, man, Beto O'Rourke, I heard that guy's next, man. You ever seen him move his arms? This dude will knock any candidate out on the debate stage with the way that he flails his arms. By the time he's done, there'll be no competition left standing. That's what they were thinking clearly, because I know they didn't push him because of his damn policy advocation. You have no idea what the hell Beto O'Rourke stands for. Pretty sure his website still doesn't have any policies listed. They tried Beto. Remember, I did that funny video basically laughing about the fact that Beto only raised in a few hours, like 5 hours, he had only raised like $2,000, something like that. It was wild. Which is why establishment meant chill. It's Katmala. True. My apologies. But but the reason I did that video making fun of how much money Beto didn't raise was because I wanted to bring awareness to the fact that they're going to try and pretend that Beto is making more money and doing much better than he actually is, because they wanted him to be the younger heir apparent to Bernie Sanders. Except for they clearly have no idea why Bernie Sanders is popular. I don't know what they think or what they thought. And of course, come to find out, which we will be discussing in a later segment, Beto was lying about some of the money he was taking, and he also got caught lying about setting the record for the amount of money raised for a primary in one day. Oh yeah, that's going to be good. Stay tuned for that. But who was next in line? Klobuchar lasted for all of a day. She lasted for a day until we found out this woman has horrible hygiene. We found out she over here eating her salad with a comb. That woman needs to be in a mental institution. We need to check on her, okay? Come on. Klobuchar, I don't know what they was thinking, but they thought that she was going to, hey, man, she's a white woman. America loves white women. Yeah, but there's some context behind that. And Klobuchar does not fit that context. So Klobuchar lasts for a day. And then we saw some retaliation, right? Because then they were building up for Biden. It was a build-up. It was like, okay, this is our ace in the hole. If we don't get Biden, I don't know what we gonna do. We have to figure something out. So it was doing a little rock. You know, when the rock that happens when you're about to jump in the double dutch, but you don't really know how to double dutch. So you're gonna slap yourself in the forehead when you jump in? Yeah, that's exactly what happened. They slapped themselves in the forehead because the moment that Biden started getting pushed a little bit too much, Creepy Joe strikes again, and his candidacy was done. I mean, let's be honest. It's done. That Creepy Joe stuff is not going to can you imagine Joe Biden going up against Donald Trump? Oh my God. He would get obliterated by Donald Trump would show no mercy. He wouldn't, but let's be honest, once again, Joe Biden wouldn't even get out of the primaries. You don't have to take my word for it. He's already proven it twice. Bro, you're the only candidate that AOC actually came out and spoke against. She refused to endorse anybody, but she was like, yeah, but hey, I ain't endorsed nobody, but Joe is not it. He is not the answer, people. We are not getting, nobody wants an Obama 2.0 if you've done your research, but the nostalgia of the Obama era is long gone amongst the active and educated voters. So, of course, the last person, this man, Pete Buttigieg, is legitimately the establishment's last hope. So we should not at all be surprised that he's meeting with Neera Tanden, that he's meeting with the Democratic Party heads, because this is exactly what we saw with Kamala Harris. It's not new. But it also shows, more importantly than anything else, Pete is not on your side. For some reason, there have been some that have been fooled into believing that this man is somehow on their team, and he's not. Pete supposedly raised like close to 8 or 9 million in like a month, not even, after announcing, you're from South Bend, Indiana, bruh. Who are you fooling? I'm lucky I ain't had a chance to go through them FEC filings yet. I'm gonna do it. I just haven't had time to. But I mean, like I said, let's be honest. There are people who have believed it, but it's not true. Pete is not on your side. He's not even a fourth or. I would vote for Elizabeth Warren before I voted for Pete Buttigieg. I would. And y'all know how I feel about Warren. I do not like her. So yeah. So I do want to give a quick shout out to AOC. AOC did make she's one of 100 people to make Time Magazine's top 100 most influential people of 2018. That's impressive. That's extremely impressive. If you all recall, her candidacy really did come out of nowhere. I'm not even joking when I tell you her first interview, or one of her first interviews, was conducted by my friend who is now in college. He's a younger guy. He was 17 years old at the time, relatively unknown. His name was Michelangelo Hamilton, and AOC was just trying to do whatever she could to get elected, and she was going on everybody's show. And his show, that was one of her very, very first interviews. And it was so funny whenever I saw her rising in popularity, and I remembered that. And I'm like, wow, that's the same one? But yeah, it was her. She took the country by storm. She made a lot of people start paying attention. She exposed a lot of people's hypocrisy. Now, that's not to say she hasn't made any missteps, because she has. And we're actually going to talk about one in this video. That's not to say she hasn't made any missteps. That's not what we're saying. At the end of the day, AOC is undoubtedly one of the world's most influential people, period. Definitely top 3 most influential politicians, but as far as most influential people are concerned, I mean, she's the most popular politician on Twitter. I think maybe Donald Trump's more popular. But like, even though Donald Trump has more followers, obviously he's the president, on average, I mean, the retweets and likes that AOC gets is kind of damn, it's a lot. It's impressive for me as a millennial. I'm 30 years old. AOC just turned 30. To see someone overcome a challenge as big as Joe Crowley. Remember, Nancy Pelosi tried to downplay Joe Crowley like that was some small thing to do. Oh, no, it was not. This man was second in line to be Speaker of the House. Nancy Pelosi didn't want the smoke. She didn't want the competition because Nancy had failed so often to keep the House, to get significant legislation passed, that Joe Crowley was going to be the natural transition, and in all likelihood he probably would have won if it wasn't for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who was going up against a Joe Crowley who wouldn't even drop out of the race once he lost in the primary, I mean. So then she takes that popularity and then she goes on the television and says, yeah, I'm a democratic socialist. That's a big deal. Then she made a few missteps along the way rhetorically, but then she picked herself back up. When she basically, when they try to hit her for Medicare for all, how are you going to pay for that? She was like, okay, how we keep paying for these wars? However we're paying for that, that's how we going to pay for this. So, like, she's learning. She's growing. And like I said, for better or for worse, it is impressive to see a 30-year-old freshman congresswoman be considered one of the most influential people in the world, because she's inspired so many other young people to run and believe they have a chance at winning. And of course, Bernie Sanders is also on that list. I didn't see an article with Bernie in it, but I'll be damned if he isn't on that list. He should be. He should be top 5. I mean, if we're gonna be honest, but we'll see. But yeah, I think it just goes. It should be said that AOC's influence, for better or for worse, once again, is undeniable. It comes with some benefits, but also it comes with some problems if she gets things wrong. Now, with that being said, I did congratulate you, AOC. You know I got a lot of love for you. But you and I got to talk, homie. We got to have a conversation. And Bernie, me and you, we got to have a conversation too. Ro Khanna, yo ass. You know, me and you, we always got to have conversations. Everybody's aware of the Green New Deal, right? At this point. I mean, how can you not be aware of it? It was talked about for literally 2 weeks straight, damn near. Fox News would not stop discussing it. AOC has been pushing it hard, as she should. You know, it's her legislation. But also, and the unfortunate truth is, AOC's ego is showing. And I don't mean this as an attack. I mean this is a legitimate criticism. Now, some people may be asking, well, why would you say something like that, Niko? She's cool people. She's a progressive. She does the right thing, and she even introduced the Green New Deal. Why would you think that she's not as progressive, or not that, I can't say that because she is progressive. Why would you think that her ego may be guiding some of her decision making in policy advocacy? Well, because the Green New Deal is pretty good. It takes care of a lot of the problems, but there are 2 huge problems with it. One, it's a resolution, no matter what, because if it's, you know, the problems that they say, you know, it has, or the substance that they say it may lack, can always be reconciled when it becomes a bill. But it's not even a bill yet. And it doesn't look like it's going to become one anytime soon. So that's one big problem with it. 2, there is something already better than the Green New Deal, and it has been here for the last year. And AOC, I'm sure, is aware of it. And that legislation, ladies and gentlemen, would be the OFF Act, the Off Fossil Fuels Act. Some of you may have heard of this. A lot of you may have not. But for those of you who are in the camp of, well, Tulsi's not the best on domestic policy, man, this is just once again Tulsi proving that is not necessarily the case. Because the OFF Act was in fact introduced by Tulsi Gabbard. Now, what does the OFF Act do? Well, let's just take a look at this little excerpt about it. All Fossil Fuels for a Better Future Act, H.R. 3671, continues to gain momentum, adding 28 congressional co-sponsors and over 400 endorsements from clean energy, climate change, and environmental organizations since its introduction. Building on progress made in Hawaii and other states, this legislation will put the United States on a pathway to replace fossil fuels with 100% clean energy. By when? 2055? 2060? Oh no, by 2035. I repeat, this legislation will put the United States on a pathway to replace fossil fuels with 100% clean energy by 2035. Huh? Well, that wouldn't That wouldn't make any sense. Because if well, for one, if Tulsi introduced the most aggressive environmental legislation that's in Congress right now, how could AOC simultaneously introduce the most aggressive climate legislation in Congress? Well, it seems to me that something is missing. I don't know what it is, but let's see if we can sort through this together, people. Well, maybe they like it because AOC's is more actionable, but that couldn't be the case because AOC's is a resolution and it has like how many bullet points? Like 8 bullet points. That's not an exaggeration. It really has like 8 bullet points, maybe give or take 1 or 2. So it isn't more actionable. Okay. That I guess makes, so that doesn't make any sense. Well, is it more comprehensive? Like, because you can have some comprehensive resolutions. That happens. So let's see. Maybe it's more comprehensive. Let's open up HR 37 or 3671 in case some of you were curious as to what it's called. See how many pages this is. Hold on, give me 1 second. Go to this text real quick. Thought it was open, but I probably exited out. See how many pages this is. Oh wow. Y'all, this bill has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 18 different, not bullet points, but sections. It has 18 sections of text, of detailed outlines on how to achieve the goal of switching completely off of fossil fuels by 2035. So I'm confused because my thing is, as much as I like AOC, and I do like her, don't get me, and I do believe she's well-meaning, but to be a politician, you do have to have a certain level of ego. You do. It's a fact. And sometimes our egos can get ahead of us. And we get more caught up in wanting to make the headlines than doing what's best and working together to achieve a shared goal. So, if I'm not mistaken, and you all can definitely feel free to disagree with me, what do you think is a better option? Let me try to push an entirely different legislation that I have almost no chance of actually, if it does what it is being claimed to do, it is highly likely that it won't get passed. Julian Bonfiglio, I probably said that wrong. Bonfiglio, right? No, probably. Thanks for the super chat. I love Tulsi and her environmental plan, but doesn't it take about 19 years to complete? And we only have 12 years. Is she going to update it? It doesn't take 19 years. It'll be completely off of fossil fuels in 15 years. And we'll be transitioning over a long period of time, over that 15-year period, to 100% renewable energy. So in 7 years, which is before the 12-year mark, we'll be at 50% less. I mean, that's just an estimation. We'll be significantly less. It will have to be at least 50% or more off of fossil fuels. So, great question though. That's a great question. But here's the problem. To your point. And by the way, I don't know how real that 12-year number is. I'm not gonna lie to you. I just kind of like, when it comes to climate change, there's a lot of money involved in climate change. So like, climate change is absolutely real. The damage to our environment is being done. But when you're a company trying to get people, or you're an organization trying to get people to believe something, they tend to exaggerate, and that's with anything that comes with money, or anything that can make someone else money. So, but with that being said, say it is 12 years, right? Say that's the number. The fact of the matter is, we haven't even gotten into the bill form of AOC's resolution. In other words, they haven't even crafted the policy to do anything actionable to solve for climate change or environmental issues. They have to get to that point first. But Tulsi's bill is already there. So once again, my question is it smarter to join forces with Tulsi, who has an actionable bill that has been endorsed by over 400 environmental groups and climate change organizations, that not only does everything that the Green New Deal advocates for, but it deals with nuclear energy as well. And it isn't just a reduction of carbon emissions and a reduction over like a long period of time. It's 100% renewable energy, and it gives a concrete, at this point, 15-year period to achieve this goal. I mean, not even joking, people. Like, this is one of the most frustrating things about me being as objective as I am, because I can't ignore things like this when candidates like Bernie even, or Congress people like AOC or Ro Khanna, who are all progressive. Well, Ro Khanna's a progressive for hire, but Bernie and AOC are definitely progressive. Why is it that we have legislation already here that has been here, by the way? The first time she introduced it was in 2017. It's been here. It's got 400 endorsements, 28 congressional endorsements, and AOC has not even mentioned the OFF Act. She hasn't even mentioned it. Why would you not, in my opinion, say, well, maybe it's more important for me to use my clout, use my gravitas. Like I just said, she literally just got named times 100 influential people of 2018. That means she has the influence to push this. Scripts to clips for Syria. Yeah, she's backed it. I know she's co-sponsored it, but that's not the same thing as pushing it. We just keep hearing about the Green New Deal, the Green New Deal, the Green New Deal. No, we should be hearing about the all fossil fuels bill, not the Green New Deal resolution. Or if we're going to talk about the Green New Deal, it needs to be into the context, in my humble opinion, on how it fits into already actionable legislation. We should hear the AOC, and not only AOC, by the way, other candidates who are claiming to be pushing for a resolution of climate change, and to be pushing for renewable energy, and to be pushing to get off of fossil fuels. Everyone has said it, but who else has talked about the Off Fossil Fuels Act? Am I being too judgmental? Am I expecting too much out of my progressives? Because you all know how I am. It sucks, but I keep my house clean. I can't critique anybody else's house if my house is dirty. These are the issues that we have to figure. Like, is it your career, your legacy, your congressional seat, your Twitter? Is that more important? Or is doing what you came into office, supposedly, to do more important? And in my humble opinion, I feel like it should be the latter. But sometimes, and it's natural, by the way, this isn't like, oh, she's a bad person. It's natural to let your ego get ahead of you sometimes. AOC, if you can't tell, has presidential aspirations. The Green New Deal would be a huge step in the right direction for her to open up her campaign when she finally decides to do so. One of the reasons why I believe she doesn't stand up to Nancy Pelosi enough. In fact, she kind of just takes what Nancy Pelosi gives her. Because she has presidential aspirations. And that's okay. That's fine. But one thing that we can say for certain is that if you want to be like that, your past catches up with you. And AOC is a very unique situation because she's now extremely popular in an era where you're under a microscope and your record is going to be called into question. And people, if this legislation gets passed, or if it doesn't get passed, people are going to legitimately be curious. Okay, they're gonna be like, hold on, if this legislation has existed this entire time, why did we not hear the most popular or second most popular politician in the country pushing for it? These type of things come up later on. So if you are making decisions based off of your presidential run, which we know is imminent, I'm not stupid, I know how these things go. If you are having aspirations for a presidential run, you must do the right thing every time. You have to speak out about Julian Assange before people are asking you about it. Or at least be a little bit more fervent in your advocacy for the free press. You know, things like that. You got to speak out about the OFF Act. Nobody's saying the Green New Deal isn't good, but you have the OFF Act right in front of you, and you're claiming that this is one of the which it is. Climate change is a real problem, one of the most real problems of our generation. And if that's the case, and that's what you're using to push the Green New Deal, I mean, you're even speaking at conferences for the Green New Deal, and that's what it's really about. Honestly, that's what it really comes down to. Being able to speak at these conferences, building up the profile, and it's not bad, but it is problematic if you're not doing it, if you're not taking the steps necessary to achieve the goal. And if the goal isn't the policy advocacy and it's just pushing your legislation, that's a problem. You know? At least I think so. But who knows? Like I said, maybe I'm being too harsh. One last thing before everybody goes. And a half, 2 weeks, whenever everybody started announcing, and I said, "Oh, buddy, y'all have no idea how excited I'm gonna be when April 15th comes around." Now, for those of you who do not know, April 15th was the day that the FEC filings were opened up to the public. Now, why would I be so excited about something like that? I mean, it's just a bunch of money that's going to a bunch of different candidates. It's not like we're going to find anything nefarious there. Of course we did. Let's get into this article by The Intercept, written by Lee Fang, that's entitled "Democratic 2020 Candidates Promise to Reject Lobbyist Donations, but Many Accepted the Cash Anyway." And I told y'all they would, because what they were hoping was that if they announced early enough, which almost all of them did, most of them announced in January, if not early February. Cory Booker announced on February 1st, which was the stupidest move. He announced on the first day of Black History Month. Don't really know why he did that. Probably seemed like a great idea at the time. But I told y'all they would think, okay, yeah, the FEC filings drop on April 15th. That's a while from now. It's like 3 months from now. Nobody's going to pay attention. We're going to be able to slide by with all of these nonsensical claims that we have been making about how our donations are flowing in, who they're coming from, etc., etc., etc. Except for, we didn't forget. I don't know if y'all haven't learned anything from 2016. We do not forget shit. Boy, I had April 15th marked on my calendar, on my Google Calendar, and in my iPhone, because we was waiting for this. So let's get into it. All of the Democratic presidential candidates have committed to rejecting the influence of special interests. We all knew that was bullshit, so let's continue. To demonstrate their resolve, several of the candidates have promised to power their White House ambitions without a single dollar from lobbyist money. Wow. Well, how magnanimous and altruistic of them. Let's see if they kept up with that promise. In the waves of small dollar donations reported on Monday, the first financial disclosure reporting period of the 2020 presidential race, lobbyist money has made its way into the coffers of major candidates' campaigns. Oh my gasp. Can you believe that? Some politicians who were favored by the establishment lied about the money they were taking. Well, wow, I can't believe that. I think I just lost my faith in the political system, because that's never, ever, ever happened before. Okay, let's continue. Beto O'Rourke. Why am I not surprised? That's the first name that comes up. Are you surprised? I don't think so. He's one of the candidates who had pledged to run a campaign financed only by people. Not PACs, not lobbyists, not corporations, and not special interests. His latest filing, however, shows that he accepted donations from a federal utility company, lobbyist, and a top Chevron, the worst kind of lobbyist, a top Chevron lobbyist in New Mexico. What a surprise. You tell me Beto took oil money? What? Oh my God. Y'all, stop the presses. Beto lied. Again. So there are people who donated to a senatorial campaign where he said, it's a people power campaign. It's people power campaign. And he took oil money, second most only to Ted Cruz, and lied to the people. Then he runs a presidential campaign literally making the exact same promise and took oil money and lied to his people again. How is this man even able to raise money still? I bet for some reason that this will not get covered, or it won't get covered by the mainstream, nor will it get asked during his town hall. But hey, let's go on to see what Kamala Harris is up to. So Senator Kamala Harris, Democrat from California, has also collected donations from registered corporate lobbyists in South Carolina, New York, and California. Several technology lobbyists from San Francisco have given to her campaign. Another Harris donor, Robert Crow, from the firm Nelson, Mullins, Riley, and Scarborough, is a federal lobbyist who has worked to influence Congress on behalf of a pipeline firm, EQT Corporation, and Alphabet, the parent company of freaking Google. That's two. Once again, I actually, to be honest with you guys, I can't even really pretend to be surprised anymore. I'll be real with you. It's just kind of like, oh my God, why do people keep falling for the okie doke? And I haven't even gotten to dig into Kamala's fundraising yet. Haven't even gotten to dig into it yet. I'm sure that's going to be pretty once we get into it. Senator Cory Booker, Democrat from New Jersey, similarly announced that he would eschew campaign donations from federal lobbyists, and his campaign appears to be making most of the caveat about federal lobbyists. Though he's returned donations from lobbyists registered under the federal government system. That's good. Booker has taken a half a dozen donations from lobbyists registered under state and municipal lobbyist registration laws. Really? Really, Booker? Booker, come on, bro. I've been even trying to throw you a bone recently, dog. Only because you with my baby, okay? You with Rosario, okay? You with the progressive homie, so I've been trying to be understanding with you, but you making it real difficult when you pull shit like this. Because you can't say they just slid by because we weren't paying attention. Because you actually returned the money from the lobbyists that were registered as federal lobbyists, like actual federal lobbyists. But then you can't then turn around and say, I didn't see that there were other lobbyists that were also registered, just not in the same way. You knew that. You just hoped that people wouldn't catch it. That type of deceptiveness is why you're not polling well now. There's no reason that Kamala Harris should be beating you. Come on, bruh. The article goes on to say, the pledge to reject lobbyists' cash is completely voluntary and self-defined. O'Rourke has made blanket statements that he will reject all donations from lobbyists. Harris has made promises in emails and to her supporters to reject all lobbyist donations, and in other emails to only reject donations from federal lobbyists. I feel like you should just be you shouldn't be taking donations from any lobbyists, right? Because think about it. She lives in California. We need a little bit more of a commitment than, okay, I won't take money from federal lobbyists. Yeah, because lobbyists in California don't have any influence whatsoever over policies. Yeah, okay. And Booker's campaign website only specifies that he will not accept money from federal lobbyists. What a surprise. Yo, I'm so tired of being lied to, like straight to my face. Like, how stupid do we look as a unit? Like, as a country, as an electorate? Do we look that damn stupid? You were going to lie about something that we can literally check on documents that are actually announced before they are released, where you can say, man, you know what? If I'm going to lie about something, shit, let me at least lie about something that can't be disproven the moment documents release. Can you get some momentum before you start lying? Can you lie about something that isn't so easily researched? Something is, bruh. Oh my God, sweet baby Jesus. Look. At the end of the day, people remember these things. When you make promise, you can't keep just repeating things that Bernie Sanders said in 2016 and then being like, I meant mostly I wasn't going to take money, but of course I'm still going to take money. That's not how it works. In fact, the moment that you make some type of random campaign promise that Bernie Sanders made in 2016, all of a sudden, we're literally looking at every single promise that you supposedly made. You are now under a under a magnifying glass. Think about it. What did Kamala Harris do? Or what did she say at that CNN town hall? The first one she did. Not only do I support Medicare for all, but let me be clear. Okay, let me be clear. Healthcare is a right. Everybody get that? Everybody get that? That was my idea. I didn't steal that punchline from anybody. Okay? Bruh. What happened the very next day. Literally, the entire progressive community was on her ass, waiting to verify the comments that she said. And the very next day, they were like, I mean, she's kind of for Medicare for all, but she's for anybody's medical legislation. She's an equal opportunist. You can't say things like that. You can't pretend to be progressive and then think that you're just going to get away with it. Like, we're not going to follow up with it. Our entire world is at stake. The country, the voters, journalists, whether they're in journalism because they're an opportunist or whether they're in journalism because they want to challenge the status quo and, do the job the fourth estate is supposed to be doing. Either way, politics has become pop culture. And because of that, you as a candidate are going to be put under a a magnifying glass. And on top of that, the moment that you say that you're going to endorse some policy that Bernie Sanders is going to endorse, or you're going to make some campaign promise that a Bernie Sanders, normalize, like not taking PAC money or taking lobbyist money, then you're going to be put under an even more strict magnifying glass. It's kind of how it works, if you haven't noticed. So just do yourself a favor. If you're going to be corrupt, establishment, corporatist, then just be honest from the beginning and save us the trouble of having to do research to figure out what we knew was going to be the obvious. We would greatly appreciate it. Now, before I finish up on the finance issue, Beto O'Rourke was a little misleading. He lied a little bit. He said that he had he claimed, and then the media echoed this claim, that he set the record for most donations raised in a 24-hour period. Remember, he supposedly raised more money for a primary than Bernie Sanders even. Which, if you are in any way, form, or fashion a part of the Bernie Sanders movement, were a part of the Bernie Sanders movement, or a product of the Bernie Sanders movement, your red flags started going up. You were like, there's something wrong here. There's no way in hell. Bernie Sanders raised $1 million in 3 hours. There's no way in hell. And then like $3 million in 6 hours. There was no way in hell that Beto, who raised like 2,000 in 5 hours, all of a sudden turned around and raised, was it 6.1 million? Or, and I said that number was a little too specific. It was a little too headline friendly. And of course, it was too headline friendly. Because according to the New York Times, Beto didn't raise 6.1 million for a primary election. He raised 5.8 million. Or 5.8 million. There's 300,000 of that money that he had claimed initially that was earmarked for the general election. That was not at all for the primary election. In other words, Bernie Sanders still holds the record for the most donations raised in a primary election. And Beto lied to us straight to our face once again. You notice, I don't know if y'all know this about Beto, but Beto is like kind of a pathological liar. And it's kind of scary because he will look at you with a whole straight face and lie. Now, what's interesting and what I'm going to be doing more research to figure out is, because remember, they also said that he had a certain amount of individual donations, and that this money wasn't from lobbyists. Well, for one, we found out that was not exactly true. Now, it was not true. Because he did take money from lobbyists. So even while he tried to claim he raised the most money, and he tried to claim that it was from individual donations from people like you and not the special interest. He tried to claim that, but all of it, the entire idea that Beto O'Rourke set the record based off of a grassroots effort was a complete and total manufactured, verifiable lie. And who's going to call him out on it? Not a goddamn soul. That's what's so sad about this whole thing. The media is not going to talk about this. If this was Bernie, oh my God. If Bernie lied about $300,000 worth of donations, that would have been the deciding factor as to whether or not someone made the headlines in the climax of people announcing for presidency. If someone's going to make the headline for setting a record for the most donations and the most money raised in the 24-hour period for a Democratic primary, if Bernie Sanders lied like this, oh my God, we would see headlines for the next 4 months. Think Progress would have all the little monkeys in the back room with their little computers. Oh my God, Bernie lies, Bernie never set the record, Bernie takes money from Bernie. Bruh. It's so irritating to me. It really is. I know I know who I'm talking to. I know y'all get pissed at the mainstream too, but shit, I still get pissed too. I'm a voting citizen. I participate in the electoral process, and I do not like the fact that my friends and my family could potentially be deceived by things like this without any accountability for anyone involved. That's the part that pisses me off. So let's see. Let's see how this plays out. Let's see if they're going to hold Beto O'Rourke to the same standard that they will hold a Bernie Sanders or even a Tulsi Gabbard. But let's be honest. I think that we already know the answer to that question. So with that being said, people, thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of Mikasa Tsukasa. Make sure you go donate to Tulsi Gabbard's campaign. Make sure you go donate to Mike Gravel's campaign, who was planning on endorsing Tulsi Gabbard once again on the debate stage, and he is over halfway there. He's doing pretty damn well, and he's actually polling as well. He's already polling at 1%, so that's good. Also, before you go, we are inching ever closer to our goal of 500 patrons on Patreon. And as you can see, I've been trying to build a studio here and trying to commute and travel back and forth to different states to help out progressives. So every dollar that you have helped or every dollar that you've donated, we've been putting to great use, and we're planning on continuing to do so, making some major studio upgrades. And so the closer we get to 500 patrons, the closer we can get to making sure that we get these upgrades. And so thank you all so much for those of you who are already a part of it. By the way, I was going to do exclusive content for Patreon, by the way, in case you're curious. However, everybody had told me that this is my patrons who said this. I said no, they want me to produce my content for YouTube because they feel like everyone needs to hear what I have to say about these issues. And that's pretty selfless of people to donate their $1, their $5, their $25, just so that we can continue to do what we do, so that all of you all can experience this content. That's amazing. I have the best support base in the world. And I can't tell you all how much I appreciate you. And I really can't tell you all how much you all have changed my life. I don't have to stress anymore about doing this full time. I get to stress about what I'm going to talk about rather than if I'm going to be able to do this. So, and that's thanks to, in large part to our patrons on Patreon. So if you want to help us reach that goal of 500 patrons on Patreon, we're like 290, 292 or something like that. So and most of those we got in the last month. So help us reach that goal. You can click on the link in the description below or go to www.patreon.com/MikaseSukasa. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, always remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.